The New York Football Giants are now 2-0. And again, that's the first time since 2016. And the Giants, for whatever the reason, when it comes to the history of the New York Giants, they have always been known when they've been successful as a defensive team. And yet again, that is the case. And the real big reason for that, so to this point, is Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale, I think, if there was someone that deserves a game ball, besides Graham Gano, because Graham Gano, against his former team, really gets it done with 4 field goals, 2 of them 50 plus, and really the game winner was 56 yards. But Wink Martindale, with not a whole lot to work with, let's just be honest, through a roster that isn't the strongest and injuries, Wink Martindale's done a lot with a little. And, maybe Raven fans would say otherwise, but you look at what happened today in Baltimore between the Dolphins and the Ravens, and, certainly Martindale would seem to be missed there. Although last year the Ravens weren't great defensively either under Martindale, but in this one, that's like the positive storyline here with the Giant win. Now, if the Giants had lost, the first thing I'd be opening up with is the offense and their struggles. But defensively, really good stuff. And the Giants' third down defense, which it feels like historically, again, this is a fan's perspective, it's bias. It's probably not the case, but it feels like the Giants' third down defense has just really hurt them. And I'm sure there is actual stats to back that up in recent years. But Carolina goes 2 for 12 on third downs today. That's a really good job right there. And look, Baker Mayfield, I'm not a big fan of Baker Mayfield, and he didn't look very good today. If we're being completely honest, Baker Mayfield didn't look great, and the Giants did a pretty good job against Christian McCaffrey. There was one, 49-yard run in the fourth quarter. Besides that, he was held in check, and a big reason for that, I think, was Xavier Mckinney, who has really developed into one of the better safeties in the league. Honestly, this being his third season, he missed a lot of year one. Came back towards the end and made an impact, but McKinney at the time, it was seen as a really good draft pick in 2020 in the second round. He was seen as a potential first-round pick that dropped. I remember I was excited the fact that the Giants drafted Xavier McKinney out of Alabama, and he's been really, really good. Julian Love as well. Julian Love, who is now in his 4th season with the Giants. It's been up and down for him, but he's always been a pretty solid contributor, pretty versatile. And Love with a really key sack to kind of put the game on ice. That was, if memory serves, that Love sack was the last Panther offensive play. Before they punted it away to the Giants. But, I think Julian Love's been good. Dane Belton. Dane Belton makes an impact in his first game in the NFL right away with a recovery on the first play of the game, on the kickoff. We'll talk about that. But Dane Belton making an impact. And, look, Adoree Jackson, continues to play really solid. Cordell Flott was thrust into CB2 duties. Aaron Robinson was out appendectomy. For Flott, there were some struggles. DJ Moore definitely got the best of him on the touchdown, and that series in general for Flott was a problem. But other than that, not too bad. And, also have to mention Leonard Williams left this game with a knee injury, and he was ruled out quickly. So Leonard Williams, who, say what you want about Leonard, but he really has honestly always been someone that Sunday, every Sunday can really he's going to be there for you, available, dressed, and ready to go. He'll play through injury. This one, he seemed to be positive about it after the game, but I'm a little bit curious about it and a little bit leery that this could be something. The good thing, though, is this. I think he avoided any sort of long-term injury, but could this be, again, me speculating, but could it be a 2 to 4 week injury? Maybe. I don't think we can rule that out, but Leonard is, again, he is someone that, really has to be hurt really, really badly to not be in there. There's that. So Leonard Williams out, and it just speaks more to the fact that the Giants were great defensively. Another player worth mentioning, Oshane Ximines. Oshane Ximines, who had a sack, who had a pass deflection, almost intercepted it actually. Zimenez has been good when the Giants really need him. I think Jihad Ward has stepped up, and I'm impressed by Ward in the run game. But Ward has been good, and O'Shane Zimenez, who was not part of this regime, another draft pick from 2019, who really had not done much of anything the last few years, and made the team and has really contributed. And so Zimenez, props to him. And we'll talk more. There'll be more thoughts about the defense. Let's jump to the offense. Didn't think Daniel Jones played all that well, but made plays when he had to. It wasn't as if he didn't have some nice plays in the mix, but I thought Daniel Jones just wasn't impressed by him again. I feel like the Giants' 2 wins have kind of been in spite of Daniel Jones. It's not as if it's been completely horrific, but it's hard to defend it also. But it's good to know the Giants can win while Daniel Jones isn't playing well. Saquon Barkley, at half, it wasn't a great game. Not that it was Barkley's fault. There wasn't much there, but Saquon Barkley with really a gutsy second half. Really got some things done on the ground. Battled for some hard yards. I mean, and they were stacking the box. They were basically saying, Giants, pass the ball. Pass on us. Barkley was in a tough spot, but I was impressed. And look, I think it helps the fact that Barkley had such a good week 1, so there's more positive thoughts surrounding Barkley. But to be fair, look, I have never been the biggest Saquon fan. And I really thought that Saquon, even though the stat line didn't necessarily show it, I thought it was a pretty gritty effort by Saquon Barkley in the second half. Also, what's kind of wild is Kenny Golladay has basically been benched. So, what happened to Kadarius Toney last week essentially happened to Kenny Golladay this week. Like, David Sills had a Kenny Golladay on the depth chart. And Darius Slayton was active, but I didn't see him out there much at all. Maybe for a couple of snaps. Kenny Golladay a little bit more than that, but not a whole lot. So, David Sills was essentially your number one boundary receiver. Richie James makes some, Richie James made some impacts. Sterling Shepard, what's kind of crazy is Sterling Shepard is he's in some ways like their number one receiver in a weird way. He had 10 targets, by far the most. Richie James had the second most targets with 6. But Sterling Shepard, kind of that safety blanket for Daniel Jones. But it's a remarkably quick turnaround for Shep. But, it's just interesting. Kadarius Toney was out there, he was on the injury report with a hamstring injury, but Kadarius, just didn't make much of an impact, to be honest. So, again, from the offensive side, there's not a whole lot to speak of. The tight ends make their contributions, in a very small way, but in a big way as well. Like last week, Chris Myrick gets the touchdown. This week, it's Daniel Bellinger. 1 catch for Bellinger, his first catch of his career, and it's a touchdown. But, going into this game, starting out, the Giants, gain a lot of momentum off of a fumble right away. Carter Coughlin. So Carter Coughlin, another guy, 2020 draft pick who has really been a nice contributor. I really do like Carter Coughlin. And it's a good forced fumble, and Dane Belton recovers it. Now, the problem is, though, the Giants do nothing with it. They do nothing with it. They go 3 and out. And it leads to a Gano 36-yard field goal. So I don't love that. But again, there's another fumble. This time, Robbie Anderson, I don't know what he was trying to do, trying to make something happen. And Darnay Holmes, really nice play by Darnay Holmes. And it was an improvement for Holmes today, I felt. There was some mistakes. There was some penalties. But Darnay Holmes was better this week than last. And he forces a fumble, and Adoree Jackson recovers it. So here we go again. This time, the Giants do get a first down. Oh, no, sorry. They actually got 2 first down. No, let me take that back again. they had 3 first down. This was the drive where they got it. First goal at the 5, then it's second goal at the 2, and they do a shotgun play with Daniel Jones that loses 6 yards. And then Jones gets sacked. And so it's a Gano 33-yard field goal. So again, missed opportunities. And then it almost came back to bite them. If they lost this game, you look back at those 2 drives right there. They only settled for 3 both times. And then Carolina is able to, it wasn't the prettiest, but they're able to muster a scoring drive. It's a field goal for Eddie Pinheiro. It's a 31-yard field goal, and this extends into the second quarter, makes it 6-3. Then the Giants punt. Not of note here, there was a potential 36-yard pass completion to Kadarius Toney, but they ruled that it was offensive pass interference on David Sills. I did not like that call. Sills, it wasn't intentional. Now look, it did affect the play. It did. But Sills was not even looking to do that. But it was what it was. And so that pretty much stopped that drive dead in its tracks. But the defense does a good job. They force a Carolina punt. The Giants do then, though, go 3 and out. And Carolina is able, with good field position. They start out with good field position, and they're able to get a field goal with under a minute left in the half. Ties it up at 6. And then the Giants, a pretty ugly end of the half where there was a couple of things. On second and 1, Daniel Jones almost throws a pick 6. Luckily, it was dropped. But Daniel Jones with a really poor throw, right sideline. That was ugly, but luckily nothing bad happened. And then the next play, David Sills mind you, the Giants have 2 timeouts. There's about 20 seconds left or so. He makes the catch, but then he decides to maybe try to go out of bounds. I don't know what he was trying to do, but he loses the first down. By going back, he loses the first down, and then it goes to half. And maybe the end result would have been the Giants didn't score anyway, but still, a sort of a not the best moments there to end that half. But second half rolls around. Giants go 3 and out to start. It was a really bad start to the half because the Giants go 3 and out, and Carolina puts up their best drive. It's a quick strike, 29-yard pass completion to DJ Moore. Then it's a 17-yard scramble by Baker Mayfield, and then a 16-yard pass completion, DJ Moore. Cordell Flott with a tough drive there. It was quick. And so Carolina takes a 13-6 lead, but give the Giants credit, they bounce right back. For an offense that showed nothing, this was a very efficient, good drive. Richie James with a key third down conversion, 15-yard catch. Then Saquon with a 16-yard run. Then Jones to Richie James for 12. Tanner Hudson with a 15-yard catch. And then on a 2nd and 10 from the 16, Daniel Bellinger, his first career catch and thus first career touchdown in his NFL career. Bellinger with a nice job stretching out. Ball just gets in. It's a touchdown, and it's 13 all at this juncture, about midway, less than midway into the third quarter. Then you get a Carolina punt, a Giant punt. And I thought Ben Bredesen and Josh Azudo, it was an improvement over game 1, but it still wasn't great. It's still, that's the interior of that offensive line is still a weak spot. And I thought the offensive line, it had its struggles today. It wasn't a great day. Again, the pass protection especially isn't great. But yeah, Giants punt, Carolina goes 3 and out, Giants go 3 and out. There's just a lot of 3 and outs going back and forth. Then the Giants get going a bit, and the big play was a 3rd and 10 conversion. David Sills, a 24-yard completion of David Sills, gets the Giants into Carolina territory. And is that a whole lot to go from there? On a 4th and 2 at the 33, they could have went for it, but they decided to kick the field goal. And with the nature of this game, it made sense. I'm sure there were people out there, myself included, who wouldn't have minded them going for it, but you trust Graham Gano, and Graham Gano kicks it, and it's successful. 51-yard field goal for Gano, gives the Giants a 16-13 lead, but Carolina strikes right back, and it's Christian McCaffrey. So Saquon Barkley is starting to up his game. Well, McCaffrey, 49-yard run. Luckily, Fabian Moreau, who was elevated from the practice squad, is able to track him down. That was key, because eventually Carolina does settle for a 38-yard field goal, ties it back up at 16. But the Giants respond again with an 11-play, 37-yard drive that took 7 minutes and 12 seconds. And Saquon gets a 10-yard run, an 8-yard run, a 3rd and 1 conversion. Gary Brightwell with a 14-yard scamper. Again, a lot of Saquon. Saquon was a heavy emphasis in this drive. Again, things got a little bit ugly. And, there was a holding penalty on John Feliciano, which pushed them back. And there's a 5-yard completion to Sterling Shepard. So it's a Graham Gano 56-yard field goal attempt, and he makes it. So Graham Gano has been really good ever since he's been a Giant, which I guess this is, year 3 now for Graham Gano as a Giant. Really, really good. And it makes it 19-16. So here we go now. 3-point game, 3:30 left. Carolina could tie it. They could win it. But on a 3rd and 6, at Carolina's 46-yard line, Julian Love gets in there. He sacks Baker Mayfield and forces Carolina to punt it away. So the Giants get the ball back. Now, mind you, Carolina at this point, they do have all 3 timeouts remaining. And so let's just jump to 1st and 10 Giants. Saquon, 4-yard, it's a 4-yard run for Saquon. Carolina calls a timeout. Then it's no gain Saquon. Carolina calls another timeout. And so I'm thinking at that point, you can't run 3 times. Now they do in essence, but they try to pass it on the 3rd down, and it works. As Daniel Jones doesn't find anything, and he cuts it back to the middle, and it's an 11-yard run for Daniel Jones, which ices the game. Game is over at that point. The Carolina had 1 timeout left. Now, here was a mistake that I have heard no one talk about. Maybe if I looked into it more, the Giants should have taken a knee. Now, Carolina had 1 timeout left, but I was of the belief that, the Giants didn't need to run a play anymore. Saquon Barkley then runs for 4 yards, and then Carolina calls a timeout, and then the Giants take knees. The Giants should have taken knees from the beginning. If Saquon somehow fumbled, it was almost malpractice. Again, no one has talked about that, and I'm happy the Giants won, and it ends up being a complete non-story because the Giants win and nothing bad happened. But I wish that Daboll was asked, hey, what was up there? Anyway, though, hopefully that's not something that we revisit later on. But the Giants win 19-16. Like I said, gritty, gutsy, not pretty, but it was nice to see the Giants win. They've had struggles at MetLife Stadium. First home game of the year, give the fans something to cheer about, and they find a way to win. And so now, it'll be a matchup with the Dallas Cowboys coming off of a surprising win against the Cincinnati Bengals. This is going to be a very key game. It's against Cooper Rush. It's not Dak Prescott. But look, if the Giants, you got to win it. Because, and I think even more to the point, the Cowboys just beat the Bengals. So, if there was any thought of taking them lightly, which I know the Giants wouldn't do, it's a division rival. It's Monday Night Football. But the Cowboys, look, they still have a good defense. They still have good players on offense. This could go either way. I kind of see this going like the Giants games have this year. Low scoring, close. That's kind of the formula. That's the Giant formula. And I think that's what you're going to see. 20-17 type stuff. Somewhere in that range. And hopefully the Giants crowd can kind of take him home. But this is a big game. Washington lost to Detroit. We'll see what the Eagles do on Monday night against the Vikings. But, this is a time where the Giants need to take advantage of the schedule. They play the Chicago Bears at home next week. You can't hate that matchup. Giants will be favored in that one in all likelihood. So, look, if you're the Giants, you want to beef up because, losses are going to happen. This isn't the best Giants team in the world, but I can't stress enough, this is a very key game. It's a divisional game in terms of tiebreakers and everything like that. Home against the Cowboys, this is a big one. I'm not going to lie to you. This is, if the Giants really have aspirations of making the playoffs or somehow winning the NFC East, you go ahead and you beat this Cowboy team. And so I'm very excited to see what happens. I think that this could go either way this game. The Giants, as of now, are a small favorite. I suspect as the game draws closer that spread might tighten up. Kind of like the Panthers, where the Giants initially were favored. By the time kickoff happened, Carolina was a small favorite. So we'll see what happens. But again, a nice win for the Giants. They're 2-0. Wink Martindale continues to impress as defensive coordinator. And I'm excited. Again, I am very excited to see if the Giants can potentially improve to 3-0 against the Dallas Cowboys at MetLife Stadium on Monday Night Football.